And we are live. Man, you know, every once in a while, YouTube would really be nice if you to be a little bit more consistent as to how quickly you pick up the phone call from all this. Hello, good evening. Welcome to Blackmail. That's the way it's going to be over here. I'll explain why this is so funny in a couple of moments. Welcome to Holy Crap, the Vlogcast. Vlogcast that comes from a skeptical point of view to answer some of the questions of why it's Halloween night. You know what? Well, it's not exactly Halloween, so you know what? Screw it. I don't really much care. You know the intro tonight. I'm just going one off because otherwise it's only going to be one time a year that I'm going to do it, and we never end up on a April Fool's Day. So you know what? Screw it. Besides, let me introduce everybody and show you why this is going to be really funny. Starting over on the left coast, welcome back, Dalan. You've got more stuff to fix and post now. Congratulations.
Yeah, you know what? I was going to, but then the whole thing about ankle bracelets came up, so no, screw all yous.
We got to
you
talk
are
about
privileged that I am here.
Yes, we got to talk about that last night during the DJ set that we do. And yeah, hey, look, we didn't forget about you, and we made sure that you had a good laugh. Look at it that way. How's that?
Yeah, I'll give you that one. Just, you know, guys, have a little more faith in me. You know, okay, so fine. I forgot to update you guys all on social media that I was leaving DFW and heading home. For crying out loud, if I wanted this continued kind of monitoring, I'd have stayed married to my first wife.
Hey guys, just give him a shock collar with a GPS unit attached to it. Every time he goes out of the boundary, it just pings him.
No. Transdermal implant.
We'll work on that. See, the problem of it was you were a 3 hour in Dallas. We were worried about you.
I was sipping Starbucks at DFW. You can't get into too much trouble at an airport.
You see that
It
now.
is Texas, though.
It is Texas.
There is that, yeah. And yeah, look, Heretic Woman, I'm trying to get out of the whole transdermal thing right now. Actually, as of November 23rd, I'll be getting out of the whole transdermal thing.
Yay!
So let's just try to not have anything else getting under my skin in that respect.
Other than us.
Yeah.
Okay,
News and politics get under my skin all you want because, hey, that's what we do here.
Speaking of which, good evening, Heretic Woman. Good morning.
Hello. Good morning. It's actually reasonably comfortable here for once. We dipped into the negatives a couple of times. I'm not happy.
17 left, I checked. Yeah. Down to the left into the Midwest of the U.S. Hi, Brigid. Welcome back.
Hello.
It's good to have you back, hon.
Well, it's good to be back.
It's a good answer right there. Nice and trite. Moving to the right, just underneath me, so to speak, southerly. Hi, Joey.
I beg your pardon, but all we are is just this big ball of rock and mud in space. There is no up, down, or left or right in space.
All we are is dust in the wind.
We need to adjust his meds.
Continuing off to the right.
Hold on. Before you start even talking about my meds, my roommate is on meds right now. Wow.
I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. We'll talk about it. We'll talk about it afterwards. UnrenownedTech, hi.
Greetings.
You're looking rather dapper.
I'm trying to keep the government out of my brain.
Those of you who are listening to the audio version of this, he's wearing a tinfoil top hat.
Tinfoil top hat.
Yes.
But he kind of forgets that he works for the government.
Yeah, so we're trying to keep tech out of us.
It's okay. They promised they wouldn't look in my brain while I was at work.
Joseph, that's called mace. You want to keep tech out of you? Use mace. Bear spray works too.
And speaking of which, all the way off into
Mace is a really good seasoning.
Mainland of Europe in Paris. Good morning, Joseph. You're in a new location.
No, I just changed a bit.
Just turned around.
Yeah, hopefully in a more crow-free setting.
After 5 coffees, European.
No, it's the same. I can tell it's the same place because he's got the same window behind him.
Yeah.
Yeah, same window turned 90 degrees. And
See, he's actually in the States. You can tell because his coffee mug is in English. If he was in Canada, it would have to be in French and English.
you know the funniest thing? I actually bought that thing in Tokyo. At the
What can I say? Americans are big in Japan.
You know, it's funny you should say that. And I'll tell you why.
A man who lives in France goes to Japan and buys an English text Starbucks mug to return to France. Okay.
Starbucks didn't exist here at the time, and it just opened in Tokyo, and I was living there almost 2 months of every year at the time.
Okay, I was just about to say, Joseph, that's a hell of a long way to go for a cappuccino. It'd probably be easier for you to go to Italy and get the real thing.
Or even better, you could just go over to one of the vending machines and get yourself a cappuccino out of the vending machine in a aluminum can.
Probably.
Is that next to the panty machine vendor?
It wasn't when I was there.
Okay, fair enough.
Is it far to swim to a vending machine?
Just flap your arms really hard. You'll be able to fly over the ocean.
Okay, yeah, that's how I get to work every morning.
After 5
Did
coffees,
you generally work from home?
By the way, it's crazy o'clock here at in Europe. We just passed daylight savings times last night.
I didn't
Yes,
double check on that.
according to my phone, it is 5:13 Paris time.
Yeah, as
be
a
at
matter of
work?
fact.
Well, my new phone's so cool. I actually have Joseph time on there. I don't know if you can see it, but yeah, I put Joseph time on there.
What's Joseph not doing now?
Yeah.
We'll figure it out later. We'll put
Siri, what is
Joseph?
Joseph doing? No,
It's
comment.
5 o'clock in the morning on another continent. Do you know what your friend is
Siri,
doing?
oh no! I went Android, my dear, on a BlackBerry still. So meh.
And that's
No more Blackberries.
Baby steps.
That's
steps.
racist.
Yeah.
No, if it's made in China, it's racist.
Oh.
Oh. Oh.
No, it's not as bad as the BlackBerry Lives Matter I was coming up with.
And it's a Brackberry. Brackberry.
Well, when the president had one, it was a Broccoberry.
Oh.
So if
to any future SJWs listening to this, eat it.
and if Chris actually had one, would it now be a Breckberry or Brexitberry?
Oh.
Would that be Cameron?
Just Brickberry.
Blackberry.
Yeah.
Brexberry.
Anyway, I gotta get
No,
into
no, if
Blackberry
Trump
when
had
it's
one,
not
it would be a
working anymore.
Brickberry because you have to hit yourself over the head with a brick repeatedly to understand half the shit he's talking about.
If I had a BlackBerry phone, it'd be named after me. It'd be a
Welcome to
Trump.
European politics.
Can we not mention the orangutan for one day, please?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. Let's go ahead and not do that because we got other stuff to do.
I just thought of an
What?
ultimate celebrity fight.
Oh God!
Ultimate death match between Trump and Amish Wolverine.
No,
It doesn't matter who wins. As long as
yes,
both
it
go
does.
down.
Oh. You know what? Lock them up in the ark and let them go nuts.
With a hole in the bottom of the boat.
we can.
Yeah,
only
the
be so lucky.
giant.
The celebrity
The
death
giant-
match would drive me insane. It would be Sarah Palin against William Lane Craig.
Oh! Oh!
Yeah,
Oh,
I
God.
got something for you.
Crap! Really?
You're gonna love this.
I gotta
Say hello to Mr. President.
Yeah, I've seen this.
What the hell
Yeah,
is
here
this?
you play. No, here you play a ripoff of The Rock, who is a presidential bodyguard trying to save President Dump from a bullet.
Ah! Good luck with that.
Yeah,
You play by standing there and letting it happen.
I
Right?
was gonna say, do you win by standing still?
well, no, like you're basically you're off stage and you have to run to either get him out of the way or get the bullet, as you can see.
Wow.
Yeah, video game Let's Player Markiplier. He had a little bit of fun with this.
And Jacksepticeye.
Yeah, and it's $5. I'm tempted to, like, get it now before Donald Trump sues somebody.
Yes,
Not that would never happen, of course.
I don't think I could justify spending $5 on that.
Yeah, I know.
If it was 99 cents, I might think about it, but
I'll tell you what, when they install them in Postal 3, then I'll buy it.
So sorry, it's not President Dump, it's President Rump. My bad.
even better. He's an ass.
Where does the dump come from?
Yeah, you play as Dick Rockhard Johnson, a bulletproof man, the best bodyguard money can buy.
Oh.
He is sworn to protect the most hated presidential candidate of all time, Ronald Rump. Which kind of sounds like something Scooby-Doo would say, don't you think?
Ronald Rump.
Oh, I'm glad she clarified that, because I thought you were talking about Scooby-Doo, talking about a Hard Johnson. I was like, what?
No.
Wrong movie, Tech. Wrong movie. We don't talk about that
By the way, has Shujin shot himself yet?
Almost.
Okay.
I'm surprised he hasn't muted the board, because he actually has that power.
I do.
Yeah.
But remember, with great power comes
Great.
something about some rice company or something. I don't know what the hell it is.
See here, I was thinking with great power comes orange skin, bad hair, and a bad attitude.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Anyway, so let me go ahead and get rolling over here because holy balls, this was interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Never do this again.
Anyway.
Good man. So let me go ahead and get you guys rolling over here. Your 5-minute freestyle starts right now. I'm going to take you back to, let's see, what year was it? The year was 1984. And you remember the title for this one? It's Round and Round. What comes around goes around. I'll tell you why. Back when MTV used to still be playing music. Remember those years, right? No, of course you don't. You're too young. You don't remember those years. However, Round and Round is not in reference to the song. It's not in reference to antiquated pieces of technology like LP records. Not that anybody remembers about those. You remember about those. Back when they used to be monophonic and then stereophonic and then quadraphonic. Yeah, they had 2 needles. Don't worry about it. It's not going to be important in a minute. Let me tell you why I'm going round and round. You guys remember last time, keep your enemies close? Well, you know what? Before that one, it was all about this mother... I'm not going to use the term, and I'll tell you why. Because I've been very, very nice about not insulting this person directly, except to call him a hack. I got into it with the guy again, and Heretic Woman knows full well, because I mentioned about this one once before. I linked her to the conversation. Matter of fact, if you go over to the Holy Crap, the Vlogcast Facebook page and take a look over in the pictures, you'll find it. But he came back at me again. Somebody had complained about a Bible being in a VA medical center, and this vet complained to somebody who was in a position in the atheist community in the military, who then went to them and said, this needs to go away. And they checked it out. And they're like, oh, yeah, you're right. And they checked the whole facility and said, okay, you know what? It's all good. We're in compliance the way that we're supposed to be. And for some stupid reason, this made the news. And somebody commented on the news and posted it and said, basically, it's stupid that one person complained and then, all this stuff happened. My comment to it was, you know what? If one person complained, it's not stupid if it was something that was illegal. And Nathaniel, I will name you by first name. Nathaniel went ahead and started in on me. I didn't instigate with him. He started with me. Prove from the Constitution it is illegal or the Declaration of Independence. Anyone who knows anything about the history of the United States knows full well there's only two reasons someone would go ahead and try to use the Declaration of Independence to say, prove that it's illegal, because they're a freaking moron is one of them, and the other one is because they want to try to squirm in there the little phrase that says, and I quote, that they are endowed by their creator. It's the only reason it gets used. It's the only reason, because they want to go ahead and say, well, America is actually a Christian country, so it shouldn't be over in there. Bullshit, motherfucker. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use it, because the only reason you're going to want to use that is to try to niggle that in there. And I got news for you. That doesn't work, and it never flied. Why did it never fly? Because the Declaration of Independence is not a formative legal document for the United States of America. It was a Dear John letter to George III to say, guess what? We're leaving and we're taking the dog with us. Screw you. The United States didn't exist. Until the Constitution was ratified, the United States of America did not exist. Ergo, you trying to pull that in there is just you trying to show that the best you can do is be a freaking hack. Oh, and what has this got to do with rat? Mr. Dillahunty was the first one that I ever heard use the term R-A-T-T. It stands for refuted 1,000 times. You're an ignoramus about the law. You don't know what the hell you're talking about. You certainly don't know goddamn thing one about how to make a logical, cogent argument. And the best part about it to me, the very best, is that every time that you've gone ahead and tried to do it, and I've shot every one of them down, you don't even bother to have the decency to either say, okay, you're right, or to say, well, no, you're wrong, because you won't even fight for your own points? Really? What kind of a wishy-washy pain in the ass are you anyway? Oh, right. You're a dirty rat. Episode 137 on the docket, Your Honor. Check it out. Chick checked out. I was actually pretty proud of myself for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll tell you all about that momentarily. First order of business, however, we have news of sorts. Heretic Woman?
Yes. Well,
Rafe Badawi's situation has gotten far and away more interesting.
Yeah, nothing has actually happened per se, but earlier this week, our Foreign Affairs Minister, Stéphane Dion, I can't remember if he was actually in Saudi Arabia or he just contacted them, but he tried to intercede on Raif Badawi's behalf. Now, the way I see Stéphane Dion, he was leader of the Liberal Party for a while. I think he's kind of a Bill wet noodle. I don't know what you think, Dalan, but
well, you know, maybe Foreign Affairs sued him. Apparently, video production is a little bit out of his league, but
yeah,
you never know.
He's got no personality or backbone, but whatever. He tried and was summarily rebuffed by the kingdom, of course. But now there is a push to have Justin Trudeau get involved, and like from within the government. So things have changed a little bit, and there is a bit more of a fire lit under people because of the announcement that they plan to start lashing him again. So, I mean, I got to give the guy credit for trying, but he's got to be like the most wishy-washy guy in the entire government as far as I know, but okay.
If he's able to light that fire, though, good on him.
Yeah, and Heretic Woman, when she sent me the link to the story that was going on, I did kind of, I'm not going to say it as playing devil's advocate, but this is one of those situations where, unfortunately, the whoever the hell it was from Saudi Arabia had a point which was,
Yes.
would you expect to release a Canadian Saudi Arabian citizen? No, a
No,
Canadian
it was-
citizen to us if we
Yeah.
were to ask for it. And
Yeah, like if they said, hey, like somebody who was born here and put in Bernardo. So let's say
Yeah.
somebody came along and said, hey, we think what you did to Bernardo was terrible. We want you to give him to us. Would you do it? And he has a point on an academic level there, but he's also kind of comparing apples to oranges, because the entire international world that cares about human rights denounces that particular law universally, whereas no one would say, oh yeah, you're really mean to that serial killer. Yeah, no. So while he does have a point on pure facts, it's still not quite the same in my book. But yeah,
I do believe that a certain someone in the movies would have probably said it best. I have chosen to completely dismiss your argument because I find it totally stupid.
yes.
Yeah, no, you got a point there. And I mean, let's face it, if it wasn't for the fact that Saudi Arabia has its finger on the, life blood vein of most of the Western world, i.e. the oil, this would be a non-issue.
Yep.
Oh,
that's
and
enough. That's exactly what I told you, wasn't it?
Yep.
Mhm.
Absolutely. We need to stop relying on these bastards and just give them the big old royal finger and stop. I mean, we're still building frickin' military vehicles for them because we made a deal, whatever. Personally, if I had gotten into the government and found out my predecessor had done that, I would have said, you know what? New management, sorry, breaking the contract. Nah. But, that's just me. Interestingly, I lost my train of thought now. There was another piece to that I was going to get into. Damn it. Oh, because we've all sort of decried the fact that Saudi was somehow appointed head of the UN Human Rights Council. Guess who got the open seat on the council today?
Who?
Egypt.
Wow.
All right. Yeah, Egypt.
And the funny part of it is, once upon a time, that would have been a really good thing.
Yeah.
Once upon a time, back
Agreed.
before who? Wait a second. Who was it that was assassinated? It was oh crap! I forgot what the hell his name was. It was like 80, 82, something like that.
Anwar Sadat, was it?
Yeah.
No. Yeah.
Pretty sure that's who it was. But
Yeah. Well, and they're run by the Muslim Brotherhood now.
Yep. So on top of all of that, Rafe's wife and the former of Rafe Badawi's organization, I guess the best way to put it.
The CEO of the Canadian Foundation, yes.
They've announced that they're going to be pushing for something. They haven't said exactly what it is. From the news reports, it sounds like it's kind of a long shot deal, but apparently they're going to be pushing for something. I don't know if it's in the UN or if they're going to be going to like the international, like the Hague or something like that. But we got to wait and see what happens with that. So
well, I said to Shujin, I said, I don't know. I wish we would just declare the man a citizen, and then we would have the ability to say, you now have our citizen, hand him over.
Yeah, the problem there is that begins to set a very dangerous precedent.
Yep.
Yeah, I know.
And anybody arrested for a suspected terrorist act, then their founding country could say, "Oh, you know what? We just made him a citizen. Give him to us," and then he gets quietly shipped back off to right where he started, so he can do it all over again.
Yeah. Well, you can make it a caveat that it must be for a nonviolent crime, perhaps, but.
Yeah, but then you'd spend the next 20 years working on the wording of that whole law, and by that point, a lot of this goes moot.
Okay, I vote for mercenaries.
Well, if Reagan was still in charge, we could have gotten Rambo to do it.
Jeez. Really?
Yeah.
Yes,
Well,
I just indicated my age. Screw all yous.
Hey, Kiefer Sutherland is Canadian. Send him over.
We'll have 24 hours to do it.
Yeah.
Or his daddy Donald.
Yeah.
So as of the recording of tonight's show, it is now 4 years, 4 months, 13 days since Reef Badawi was unjustly incarcerated for thought crime, as you can well tell. Our hopes and our thoughts are still with you and your family. We're hoping for you. So Jack Chick. Let's start off with Joey for a second, and there's a good reason. Joey, you normally don't find out about the show until a couple of minutes after you've woken up, and that's usually about the same point where you're finally saying, yeah, I'm here. Hi, good morning. So do you know Jack Chick? Not personally, of course, and not biblically either. Are you familiar with Jack Chick?
I can't say that I am.
Well, have you looked up any of his stuff yet?
Nope.
I want to do yourself a little bit of a
weekend, man. I'm
Yep.
I'll look at that.
Yeah, Heretic Woman has got one of the Chick tracks, this one in particular called Uninvited. Now, that one I'm not specifically familiar with, but just from the look of it, obviously this would have been put into the little hands of the kids going around for trick-or-treating and Halloweening.
I found this in a display in one of the grocery stores that we frequent about a month ago.
Did you now?
I did, and I took it because I didn't want any other poor unsuspecting person to get exposed to this dribble. And they're highly entertaining as well.
Well, if you're over like 14, 15 years old and you can actually think for yourself.
Yes, indeed. And you know, when I got the news that Chick had croaked, I made a post about it, and I said, you know, I'm kind of conflicted because the guy is a colossal asshole, but he's given atheists decades of entertainment. Like, I'm sort of conflicted here.
Yeah, the Thinking Atheist, Seth, had put up a short video, if you will, a minor remembrance, and some of the descriptions that he had for the artwork was spot on, talking about how the people who were naturalists were a cross between the Ku Klux Klan and the Tin Man from The Wizard of Oz in the way that they were presented, which, yeah, this is about right. So, Joey, really quickly, I'm assuming now that you've had the opportunity of taking a look at some of this stuff, and as someone who is trained a little bit in art, at least, what would you have to say about his style? I guess is probably a generous term for it.
You know, I can't fault the man for his style. I mean, style is a fairly unique thing between artists. But you know, I really can't fault him for using his art in his way either. That is his prerogative. That is the way art works.
True. I'm expecting that there is a but in there somewhere.
Well, I have seen his stuff before. I recognize it. I didn't know his name, and I can see why. Personally, I was more a Jack Kirby guy myself.
So long as there weren't nipples on the batsuit, right? You're welcome.
Could be other things on the batsuit. I'm just saying.
You and I have now hurt Joey's feelings.
Wrong, not even the right company. What is wrong with you?
They've been trying to figure that out for years.
Yeah, no. I know. It was Kane who did, I know full well. And no, My hands are still attached to the ends of my arms. I have not been Googling to suddenly go save FaceTime, so to speak. I'm sorry. It was just there. I had to use it. Anyway.
I haven't actually looked at this one yet. It seems to be about some woman telling AIDS patients that they're dying because of demons.
This wouldn't happen to be a woman who seems to be older, wizened, wrapped in a bedsheet, maybe slightly Indian looking?
No, not Indian. She looks like an African American lady, which is actually kind of racist.
Good thing she's not Chinese. It'd be racist.
See, now I'm going to cut that out. See, I was trying to make the connection with Mother Teresa, you see.
No. Ooh, yeah, no, not that cool.
Yeah, considering how, the Roman Catholics are typically viewed by the other evangelical Christians as the Whore of Babylon, as far as religion is concerned, that wouldn't have surprised me at all, though.
Yeah.
Wait, did you say horror of Babylon?
Close enough.
Okay.
And this is lovely. It has all kinds of cliches about why people are gay. Because they were molested. Yep.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. This is just lovely.
Now that I think about it, Bobby would have been a great person to get in here.
Priests are inadvertently turning people gay?
Apparently. It said in the very end, it says the gay community fulfills Christ's prophecy by terrifying politicians, strong-arming the media, and creating the sodomites in our school systems. They want the world to become like Sodom. It will under the coming Antichrist, but what price to pay?
Wow.
Wait, if they just said that people getting molested are what is causing people to be gay, and it's, priests have a high tendency to molest people, statistically speaking, but they're supposed to be godly people. Does that mean that secretly God wants people to be gay?
Well, I think Jack Chick was probably of the camp of Catholics aren't Christians. If I'd have to confirm that, but I have a very strong feeling that he was probably in that camp.
Probably, which would not at all surprise me.
Therefore, Catholics aren't, they're demonic and whatnot. So,
well, they're idolaters. They worship the mother instead of the Godhead, which, well, all right. I mean, as someone who grew up Italian, you do kind of revere your mom a little bit more, mainly because she can hit you from 3 rooms away with a high heel like you would not believe, and never stop stirring the sauce.
Yeah, Eddie Murphy's depiction of the mother with the high heels, pretty spot on.
Yep.
Yeah, look up Eddie Murphy Delirious for all of you people to figure out exactly what I'm talking about. This was back when Eddie Murphy was funny.
Yeah, give or take 1984. Yeah, I'm gonna go with that. Sure.
Yeah.
I don't care. Anyway, so Joseph, you've been out of North America for a long time. Does the name Jack Chick actually have any remembrance for you at all at this point? I'm assuming that there's nothing quite like this stuff in France. I would hope.
Oh, don't forget, I was well indoctrinated when I was young. Bible studies and the whole part, and I think that was part of it, if I remember correctly. But they always disturb me, the chick tracts. Because often they don't even make sense. I mean,
well, again, like I said, if you're over, if you're in your teens or later and you haven't really been pounded into you, it's probably humorous more than anything else.
Yeah. No, when I was totally into it, when I was like, I guess I was around 9 or 10 at the time, I was always asking, what the hell does that mean? I think they were part of my after-school Bible study thing I had to go to. That was part of it. We had to memorize Bible passage, and then we had the weeks. I think they came out every week at the time.
There's a lot of them.
Yeah, I think the funniest one, and several of us who tip the nerd quotient right here would probably remember the whole satanic panic because of the ones that he did for Dungeons and Dragons.
Yep.
Because the witches and the spells that you can put on your father for I forget what it was, mind befuddlement or whatever the hell it was, mind binding. And if you die in the game, you die in real life.
Yes.
Yeah.
Totally
All because one
that.
kid who was clinically he was depressed. The mother didn't want to face the fact that their son was depressed, and blamed the frickin' D&D for his suicide.
Yeah.
It's not our fault.
Yeah, and there was a movie that came out,
Yeah.
Mazes and Monsters, where kids were playing it, and one guy went off the deep end. And apparently he never, if I remember the end of the movie correctly, he never really did recover. His friends were just all there for him at the end and just, tried to help make his life the best it was in the asylum he was now in.
Wow.
Yeah, let me grab you for a second, Brigid, because I saw that you took your mic off of mute there. So I'm kind of wondering if you had something to add into here. If not, I've got a good question for you.
Oh, I was just going to say that, yeah, Jack Chick definitely thought that Catholics were not Christians. I remember.
Yeah,
he had
it in for the Catholics, the Masons, the Muslims, the Jews, accused them all of murders and conspiracies.
Yeah, I remember
The Jews
one
were
of the
the
tracks that
chosen
came out.
Yeah, so here's a question I got for you. With the satanic panic that went on, especially considering for Dungeons and Dragons, where people had these ideas that kids were going to go ahead and take it way too seriously and all this stuff, if anyone did kind of take it a little bit too seriously and maybe start inserting themselves into a fictional world and such like that, wouldn't there be concerns now for people to kind of start screening for, I don't know, things like schizophrenia, perhaps?
Yeah, that'd be a good idea.
And if memory serves, didn't the religious churches typically say early on that people were demonically possessed and had no concept of mental stability issues and such?
Yeah.
I thought they did a movie on that one.
Yeah, several of them. But yeah, they attribute, or a lot of churches still attribute any kind of mental illness to demonic infestation.
Yep, Scientologists, for instance.
Well, not only them, but some of the more charismatic religions too.
Hell, you don't
That
even have to go
still
so
do.
far as Scientology. Pat Robertson, Glenn Beck, who's it? Brian Fisher. All of these contemporary Christian guys they've been throwing around the term demonic possession ever since the frickin' elections began.
Oh, don't forget our friend Pastor Manning,
Oh, demonic! It's demonic, everybody!
Yeah.
Sorry, it sounds a bit more like Grover. I apologize for that.
Yes, it does.
but that's okay.
Sounds like Grover on testosterone tablets.
Good luck there. As our medical expert, Brigid, by the way, flames coming out of any orifice of the human body, last I checked, unless you had extra wings on you somewhere, you didn't have a Thor's gland in the back of your throat in order to make methane, gaseous methane become, I don't know, fireballs. So rectums having flames and such, I'm assuming that we're really not built for that, are we?
No. Other than severe indigestion, no.
Wrong end.
I don't even think a ghost chili can do that.
Yeah, and by the way,
It would just feel like it.
Ghost chili with a can of X-Lax.
Oh, tack.
I think about this shit. It keeps me up at night.
it would.
You need
And what I was going to say, though, was as far as the nerd quotient is concerned, yes, I actually once upon a time did all kinds of homework and research on how does flame actually work coming out of a dragon's neck. Oh, I forget what they called it. It was a where the uvula is. There's supposed to be a gland there that electrostatically sparks, and the breath is actually belching the methane out of the stomach like a coward.
Actually, if there's a movie, Reign of Fire, they actually had an interesting theory about that.
Flight of
There were two
Dragons.
glands where the chemical.
Well,
Yeah, that one was kind of interesting too. A little. Yeah, whatever.
however, there is actually a point to that. We know full well that dragons are fictitious. And
Bite your tongue.
Wait.
The Komodo is real.
Well, yes, as the bearded. However, we also know full well that dragons by name are, except for just nomenclature, not real. But last I remembered, aren't there mentions of dragons in the Bible?
Yeah, there's one verse I think that can be loosely translated to mean a dragon.
And
That
unicorns.
weirdo woman in the Natural History Museum tried to say that.
Oh yeah, her.
Yeah, her.
And that's just the kind of person that would just be picking up these chick tracks all over the place. Now, let's kind of backtrack a little bit.
But it's mentioned heavily in Revelation.
Well, yes,
Dragons.
yes, it was. Then again, there were also horse-headed. Oh God, what the hell was it? Horse-headed scorpions with 7 eyes and 3 ears, or whatever the
That
hell.
was
I
a
don't know.
hell of an acid trip, whoever that person
Yeah,
was.
there was some kind of locust too that I think Noah and Heath have a real love for. I can't remember how they phrase it.
One of these days, find somebody who's got good 3D rendering skills and ask them to see this passage over in Revelations. Could you model that just so we can go? We'll pay you, because I don't think anybody would be stupid enough to try that. Anyway, so
I was gonna say I've got here what general themes he's got, and false religions is a big one, and there's a subheading anti-Catholicism. So I was definitely right. Anti-homosexuality, anti-evolution, King James only, of course. Talking about Satan and satanic influences. There has got to be hundreds and hundreds of these things, because I went to the website and just of stock titles in English, there's 84 tracts. And those are just the ones that are out of stock.
and Dalan actually found a picture of the locust from Revelation.
Yeah, not
Oh,
exactly a
there
3D rendering, but close enough.
Sure, why not?
That looks like
Oh,
the face
is-
looks. Go ahead.
I was going to say this is interesting. Dragons are mentioned in Deuteronomy
Oh,
and Job. Look up Job.
Oh, there you go.
huh.
Well, how nice. Nice to know that Tiamat's actually prior art. And looking at it, by the way, Dalan, that picture actually looked like it could have been added like the most recent Fiend folio from D&D, ironically enough.
Yeah, very possible. But then again, as someone who was an avid player back in the day, if you look through the monster manuals and the Fiend folios and stuff like that, most of that menagerie did take itself from various mythologies around the world.
Yep.
For instance, one particular character, I'm very fond of the Rakshasa. Very heavily Indian mythology.
Because it's prior art, you can't get sued for using something that's effectively thousands of year old because, public domain. What are you going to do?
Definitely.
Except for maybe the pictures, but that's a other thing later.
Hey, I just Googled it. I'm not... screw, we're not making any money off this anyway. Who are we kidding?
No. So, Jet Chick had been making these. Wow. That feels good to say.
Yeah, had been.
Jack Chick had been making these abominations to fun since 1960. Basically, these were little comic books, is the only way to really describe them. And they were flip books. He used his art, he used his talent to be evangelical about, well, as you hear, the Catholics are wrong. King James Version is the only real version of the Bible. Whatever. Mental illness is all demon possession. Homosexuality, ditto. So many things that were covered. Evolution, yeah. I mean, all of the typical evangelical Christian talking points. They're all in there, covered in one way or another. And in the most grotesque fashions of lying through the visual medium. And I can say it that way because there are images of people that he's drawn who bear a striking resemblance to the SS, to groups that could have otherwise been, with a slight modification, like I said earlier, the Ku Klux Klan. People who are, oh God, I can't believe them. Forgive me. Back in the 20s and the 30s in Europe, the way that the stereotypical bad Jew was pictured, with the hunched over and the oversized nose caricature and walking around always looking for the next dime to pick up, that would have been a step up from the way that Jack portrayed some people and some organizations.
Absolutely. Now, I've been a fan of some guys called the Bible Reloaded for a while.
Yes.
You guys know about them?
Oh, yeah.
And they famously would regularly read one of these tracts, and they would often get, guests to come on, other YouTubers and whatnot. I think Unrenowned's done one with them, and they of course ham it up and completely rip on it. So of course, when I found out that Jack Chick died, one of the first things I did was go to their channel. And interestingly, only about 3 days before, they had read the latest Halloween one, because of course Halloween's evil and full of, nasty things, and you should just stay home and pray all night. And I hadn't actually watched that one, but apparently at some point in that episode, one of the guys had made a comment like, we've lost so many talented people in 2016, and Robin Williams has already been gone for 2 years. Like, what the hell? Why is Jack Chick still here? And like 2 days later, he drops dead. So they were taking requests for people to croak now, but what they did do, which I was amazed. They did a special tract, and I don't know where they found this, because this tract was so bad that the Jack Chick company actually removed it from their own website.
Whoa.
Yes. Like I said, I don't know where they got it, because it's not available anywhere. And I watched the whole damn thing. And it's about a pedophile.
Ooh.
Which is why they removed it, because the pedophile gets saved at the end and gets to have a happy life with his wife and his victim.
His victim?
Oh, yes, his victim.
Well, so long as you pay the family off, it doesn't really count.
Right, 50 shekels, I forgot.
Yeah, and she looks like, in the comic, she looks like she's all of about 6, and she has a teddy bear.
Oh, so a perfect Muslim bride then, is that what you're saying?
He hates the Muslims too, but yeah, maybe this was like a cousin of Muhammad, I don't know. But
and let's be fair, it's not just the Muslims that have got that in there. It's all the Abrahamics. It's technically all of them.
It is.
Yeah, that's true.
Absolutely. But I was floored because like the title was, Jack Chick is dead dash worst tract ever. And they had even said, like, I guess they'd known about this and maybe a fan sent it to them at some point. I don't know. They didn't say, but they had actually made a decision quite some time ago that they were never going to do this tract on the show. And then they're like, yeah, but he's dead. So now who cares?
Which is all well and good for us.
So yeah, if you have a strong constitution, you can check that one out. But there's loads of tracts being read by Hugo and Jake and all different kinds of guests on their channel. And actually, I haven't watched it either, but they released a special Jack Chick tribute today. So I haven't seen that yet.
I'll have to go hunting for that. So here's the thing that really, 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 really pisses me off about these things. Like I was saying earlier, if you were, in your teens, if you've had an opportunity to, learn how to think for yourself and could actually be allowed to think for yourself, these things were mildly amusing. If nothing else, the Dungeons and Dragons want to look at it and go, what the hell is this? Nobody does that. Nobody dresses like that. What the hell is all the spells on your dad? Really? Not to mention, the whole nobody dresses like that either. I'm firmly convinced that he never drew anything outside of the 1965 these boots were made for walking era as far as fashion was concerned. Anyway.
Well, hey, when it comes to a particular desire, particular fashion, you go with what you know.
Yes.
That was probably the last time he left the house.
Yeah, fair point.
Can't see anything. Anyway, the reason why
that's the thing about Jack Chick, because that he's so into his own bubble. It's kind of obvious. Put a guy in his own bubble and just feed him money and
notoriety.
Put out anything that keeps the money coming.
Yep. But now here's the thing. And the reason why I was bringing up 1965, at least I'm pretty sure I've got the year on this one right. Somebody double check for me. It's the Great Pumpkin Charlie Brown. Pretty sure it was 65. The point of it is, if you remember the story, and if you haven't seen it, you really should. It's actually kind of fun. Poor Charlie Brown, he goes out trick-or-treating with all of his friends, and I got lollipops, I got gumdrops, whatever that was. I got a rock. You've heard that expression before. Now you know what it's from. But there were a lot of times, there were a lot of kids that ended up dumping out their haul at the end of the night. And what's this? Little pamphlet of paper. It's Jack Chick. And you have no idea who dropped it in your bucket for you.
Yeah.
And, Dalan grabbed it for me. Thank you. 66. Okay. 1 year off. Just 1 year. But technically it makes it... No, there's no technically involved. It's older than me. So here's the problem. If you're going out trick-or-treating, there's a good possibility, even to today, that if you're a kid, you're going to get these in your haul. And you will have no way of knowing because people go, oh, look at how cool this is. And in their little monkey claw of a hand, when they reach and drop the stuff in there for you, you'll never see it. You'll never know who did it. And how utterly disgusting and repugnant to do this to kids intentionally. Kids that you just maybe don't necessarily know because they're going around the neighborhood, maybe kind of know, but I'm lucky. We've never gotten one. The little one, Tiny Dribble, has never gotten one of those, fortunately.
That's good.
I don't remember if we did. I think, could be wrong, but I think there was 1 year that I did get one. I think. But even so.
Well, it's like giving one for a tip to some poor, server at a restaurant.
Oh,
People do that shit all the time.
And I had a brush with someone in the food industry just recently who was applying for a job at a restaurant as a server. They would be the one that comes up to your table, takes your order, and goes back. Hi, how's everything? Is your drink full? Here, can I give you some more? Can I, wow you with a dessert? Would you like extra gravy with your fries? Yada 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 blah.
Mm-hmm.
The wage for that job, just over $2 an hour. Because the business expects that the server will be making the majority of their money via tipping. So therefore, they don't technically have to pay the people. They don't have to pay their people more than, a mere pittance, because the customers will basically pay their wage for them.
Yeah.
So when you see these ads, the whole tip thing, and I'm a good Christian, and tipping's against the Bible and all that bullshit. Yeah, there's a reason there's some outrage for it, is because you are quite literally taking somebody's food off the table because of your fucking God. I'm sorry, but
it's like that whole idea that, people in a disaster can eat a Bible. It's like, well, a server at a restaurant can eat a tract instead of, have money.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry. You can't get fiber from paper.
And the worst one that I have seen is the one that looks like a large denomination bill. And so the poor server is like, oh, wow, cool tip. And they open it up and it's a fucking tract.
Yeah, $20, $100 bill. Yeah, which is reprehensible is the word that comes to mind. I am firmly of the belief that somebody that does that should be shown the door via nail gun, but that's just...
Yes.
See, I was actually thinking they should be taken on the back, treated with a spatula, meat tenderized, and a few other things, and then have this bill, this tract, whatever, stapled to the forehead.
Yes. And then they have to bust tables and do dishes for the rest of the night.
Yeah. 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 Instead of washing dishes, they have to do this, and they have to wear the bill on themselves somewhere, and also wear like a name tag that says, I'm a shitty tipper or something like that.
The new version of the Scarlet A. In this case, it stands for asshole. We'll move on. Worse, it could be worse. I mean, they could be doing the show. How about this then? Why would you do this to kids?
And while they're young, that's why.
They think that they think that they're being helpful and that, you have to save them when they're young kind of crap. And it's like, it's not even, your responsibility, like stranger to a child. Then why the hell would you think you could even do that?
No morals at all.
No, yeah, exactly.
No, they believe that they are saving children's souls, and they're doing God's holy work and making sure to preserve all the souls for heaven. So you got to get them while they can.
It's basically, enormous ass kissing of God. I'm going to do all this.
Why we, asking of the guys who made you say shit like that.
Yeah, that's stupid. And what gets me too is like, it's obvious they do this to get brownie points from Jesus. Isn't Jesus and God supposed to know all this anyway? Like,
yeah. See, there's a piece about that. There's two things. Item one, I would like to think that were there a God that's supposed to know everything, would be kind of the same way as George Burns' version of God. I know everything that happens as soon as it happens. Okay, you know everything because okay, that's at least something that I could hang my hat on, but okay, whatever. But as far as to the whole save them when they're young, yeah, 2 words. Andrea Yates.
Yes.
7 kids, all under the age of maturity.
And
I guess is whatever the term is they use for it.
I think there was 5 of them, but yes, they were all. I'm pretty sure they were all under 10.
Yeah, but it was just a matter of that. Got to kill them now so that they don't end up burning in hell. Thanks, appreciate that.
Well, some woman just did that again recently.
Yeah.
I forget what state it was, but it did just happen again. I think it was like 2 or 3 children.
Yeah, it was up in the northeast, if I remember right, of the U.S. Brigid, I'm sorry, but you're my medical go-to. Somebody who is being drowned by having their head grabbed and thrown into a bathtub, that has got to be one of the most horrific things that, as a medical trained person, that's
one of the worst ways to die. The only thing that I can imagine that would be worse would be being set on fire.
And as somebody who has been dead before, Joey, I got to imagine being dead is not all it's cracked up to be, and hence you decided that wasn't for you, huh?
Tried it. Wasn't my kind of thing.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm allowed to get away with that once a show, and that's it. Especially considering, but I mean,
I tried it. Didn't take.
Yeah. Let's not go for a twofer. That'd be a good idea, right?
Actually, by now it'd be a threefer.
Let's not be dealing with that anyway. But okay, so Andrea goes ahead. She loses it. I'm gonna go with the idea that she was clinically insane. I don't know if she was or if she wasn't, but bottom line,
She was. It was medically documented that she was. Extensively documented.
Yeah, but here's the question. You get put into that position. You think that that's the right thing to do for whatever reason. If somebody ended up like that and had fluid in their lungs, I know full well from having lived on the ocean and hearing some of the stuff about, drowning, within 24 hours after having your lungs, cleared of all the fluids and whatnot. Children especially have got to be a hell of a lot even more sensitive than an adult, I got to believe. No?
I can't imagine what was going through their heads. Those poor kids.
And even if somebody had been able to get them out of there, somebody who's got their lungs full of tap water, which can't necessarily be the most cleanly idea in the world anyway, the likelihood of somebody coming back from a full-on lungs, even partially filled with fluid, it's got to be just low for somebody to come through something like that. Or do you have any ideas to how difficult that might be?
No.
No,
Not really.
No, it's okay. Well, I mean, to be perfectly honest and fair, I mean, how the hell often would you hear that somebody had to be strapped in by their ankles, held upside down so that everything can drown out of their faces,
Yeah.
Maybe in Florida.
Yeah.
Not really around any beaches or anything here, so drowning is not that much of a problem.
Fortunately. And of course, I've said this before, that's part of the reason why I made damn sure my little one took swimming lessons, because you don't forget how to swim. You don't forget how to swim. Granted, you can't exactly swim out of that particular situation, but in any case, the reason why I'm bringing this out is because what if these things were the tipping point for somebody? What if somebody that was just leaning towards these kinds of beliefs suddenly decided, you know what, this is just the one piece that's just going to go ahead and just cinch it for me, and I need to do this with my kids or somebody else's, God help you, so to speak. Of course, we've had situations where people have done in others because of their religious beliefs.
Yeah, this is probably not going to be a popular opinion here, but when
Go
people
for
are
it. That's more fun.
when people are that far gone, it would almost make sense for them to do that. That would be, in their mind, a kindness to do that.
Yeah,
Oh, that makes perfect sense from their point of view. Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly so. And by the way, Martin, welcome down to listening. Did see you over there, and thanks. But yeah, as always, it's another one of these Obi-Wan moments. It makes perfect sense from a certain point of view. And I think that's one of the things that really hurts the most. Because to our way of thinking, the skeptical points, the, dare I say, atheistic points, sorry, let me take this differently. From the humanist point, there is no reason why we would intentionally... hold on a second, because I got to rephrase this one. There would be no reason to intentionally harm someone. And I had to really, really quickly rewrite this for myself. And here's how here's where I can tell you that. And Tech, I'm gonna throw it your way because you've been a little bit quieter, and then I'm gonna get Joseph in a moment too. Can you think of a reason why you might harm someone for a good reason?
Harm someone for good?
Yes.
Okay. Well, there was a case of a gentleman pulling another guy out of a car, and in the process broke part of his body. I think it was a thumb or a finger or hand, wrist, whatever. It's immaterial, but the very act that caused the minor damage prevented the man from physically dying in flames, and that it was determined that the man was incapable of helping himself, that he would have died without assistance. And I don't mean in the spiritual sense, I mean his body would have physically failed to work anymore. So there's cases where, yes, people have been harmed in the effort to save their lives. There have been cases where people have been on operating tables, and the surgeons are doing their damnedest. And, they're doing, in the act of like getting to a heart replacement, you're damaging the human body. You're cutting it open, you're pulling ribs back, you're doing all sorts of harm but you're doing controlled harm. Okay. And you're doing it in a controlled manner that is, in theory and in practice through medical science, to do, at least hopefully the least amount of damage, so that it minimizes the amount of time that it takes to heal from it. Okay, so maybe they're making a decision over here because they find that it heals faster that way. Like my mother. Okay, my mother actually had back surgery. She had to have a disc removed, and they had at that time come up with an experimental procedure where if you were to take something like a bolt, okay, and you were to take the center of the bolt and hollow it out, and then along where the threads are, you put all these extra little holes, and before the major operation, you take bone marrow out of the femur. So yes, that's painful. You take the bolt, you take the disc in the spine out, thread the bolt into the hole, fill it with the bone marrow, and close up. You make an incision only about this big, and the bone marrow grows and fuses up and below with the discs. Normal spinal surgery that had the disc fusion used to create huge incisions, lots of downtime, all sorts of stuff like that. So in terms of science or in rescue, we have harmed people in the effort to help them. But then there's also people who misconstrued harm as help, where they think, okay, I'm going to do this because this person just obviously doesn't know any better. They're going to hell, or, they're just making a bad decision, and they hurt them, whether it's emotionally or physically. Maybe a couple's happy together back when we had segregation. A man and a woman, one was black, one was white. They might beat up the guy or and keep him away from the woman, depending on which one was white, of course, saying, "Oh, it's for your own good. It's for your own good." It's like, no, it's not. Leave that person alone. So there are different scenarios where you can hurt them, but you're ultimately helping them. And you have other ones where you think you're helping them, but you're doing more harm than good.
Okay. Now, Joseph, here's where this ties in for you to kind of finish part of this out. There's a difference between physically harming someone in order to have a better outcome when all is said and done versus, like he was just saying, beating up couples when there was racial, and I can't stand that term anymore, segregation. And
I used it because it was something that's relatively not too distant in our history, and a lot of people are familiar with it.
No, I got that. It's just a matter that the terminology for race, as I'm learning more and more about this, is just it's just a stupid term anymore. But anyway, but like you were saying, beating up the hell. Being up the darker-skinned person in order to save the lighter-skinned person because, well, they should have known better in the first place. How do you determine which of these is the right thing to do when it's all a matter of it all depends as to what perspective you're coming from? How can you make a determination as to which one of these is the right thing to do and which one isn't?
And here's an example of hurting for helping in terms of a medical sense. In one of the Star Trek movies where they had gone back in time for the whales, and Chekhov had the broken blood vessel in his head, they were going to cut a hole and release the pressure. In today's society, yes, that is okay. But in the future society, it's like you don't do that. That's harmful. You just repair the blood vessel with one of these little machines that they had, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, Bones had a conniption.
Yeah.
My God, they're going to cut his head open.
So our perception, like you were saying, it does change.
Yes, but there's your piece, and I know it's kind of wrapped a little bit weird. I'm sorry for that, but how do we tell the difference between? How do we tell the difference between which one is harmful for a good reason versus which one is harmful for a bad reason?
That's what morals are.
There you go. That's
if you and that's what most believers don't understand, is that we are perfectly capable of determining that for ourselves using all the the variables in the situation to come up with a best possible solution, because that's what it is. I mean, it's our responsibility to do that. But when you're indoctrinated, your definition of good basically comes down to following orders. So, if you're told to do something in the name of or whatever, then it's quote unquote good for you, no matter how atrocious it is.
Yep, and we've talked through that on many occasions. And here's how this all comes together. Pulling everything back from each of those little rabbit holes for a second. The difference between harm for good versus harm for not so good. There is a physical body. There will continue to be a physical body that we can actually identify is right there, and then afterwards we can say is still right there. You want a perfect example of how you can do physical harm to someone in the name of good? One word: gangrene. You have something that is gangrenous, you need to amputate so that it doesn't completely destroy the blood and ergo the rest of the body. If my little bit of medical information is correct on that one.
I was thinking something more along the lines of taking out a hostage taker, but anyways.
Well, there's a different piece entirely, yeah. Now,
tracheotomy.
How about amputation?
That's exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
A tracheotomy.
Yes.
Yeah.
See, You remember that line. You remember
Well, no,
that.
I mean,
Well, the surgery is doing harm to do good.
well,
Pretty
Yeah.
much any.
Just one
pretty-
one
pre-
one thing to the side. Happy birthday, Wayne.
Okay.
Pretty much anything with the word ectomy on the end of it.
It depends on what it is. Anyway, but what I'm making reference to for Dalan, I'd actually used that line before. Would you want somebody to stab you through the neck with a knife? And of course, most people would say, no, why? Well, what if it's a doctor? Oh, well, that's different. It's the same thing. The difference is here, when we do something to harm someone for a good reason, it's because there is actually going to be a physical eventuality out of it. Something that we can identify, something that we can codify, something that we can document, something that we can touch, and maybe cremate afterwards if things go poorly. But it's still actually physically there. We can actually hold up a body piece and say, yes, this used to be a piece of someone. And if anybody is uncomfortable with my having said it that way, I do deeply apologize for that, but getting the point across. For these people for whom this is not the methodology, who think that killing a child because they don't want them to end up in hell because of their soul, you can't identify a soul. There is no way to identify a soul as has been described to date. Is it possible that there is? It's possible, because we can't rule it out, because we can't rule it in. There's no logical reason for it. However, there's nothing there. If you could prove that it was there, all right, we can have that discussion. That's a different piece. But the problem becomes you end up with these people who get pushed over the edge by stuff like this, these pieces of propaganda. And I mean, this is one of those reasons why I wanted to have, I'm going to have Sam on with us, because this is the kind of shit that he loves, this kind of propaganda. And that's really what it comes down to. It's propaganda to say, you should be following along with us, and look at how awful everything is, how much I can picture it for you. It's religious science fiction at its worst. What's the term for it?
Totalitarianism?
Dystopian future is the term I was looking for.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's really what it comes down to. So how do we get, short of buying out the Jack Chick company so that these things can never see the light of day again, which will not work, which cannot work?
I'll keep them around for posterity.
Yeah.
They do their best to eliminate, all the bad things in history. So
I would encourage that if any parent, if their kids get these little paper care packages for Halloween when they're going out trick-or-treating, I would say take it now, at least from a layperson's perspective, somebody who doesn't have a lot of pull with anything other than maybe social media. Get it out there and say that my kid got this from some asswipe in my neighborhood this Halloween. Just put the pressure on to get these things devalued in a social sense. Mock the hell out of them, like Hugo and Jake, keep doing what you're doing. Like that's the thing when it comes to this, mocking it, making sure that it's marginalized. I think is about the only real thing we can do.
You know how they make people designated sex offenders, they have to announce themselves and everything. Well, why don't they do the same thing for people who will indoctrinate your children?
That's a really interesting question.
Because
That would
also be a very huge chunk of the population.
Guys, it's also a slippery slope.
No, how?
Just because somebody wants to push the religion doesn't mean we go around putting little scarlet letters on them for it. Now, if somebody goes around breaking the law about it, if you've got
See, that's the thing, because
if you have a priest or a rabbi or something like that who's going to churches and they're doing preaching at, or not churches, they're going to schools, public schools, government-funded education institutes of learning, regardless of level, and are trying to push the religion, then yeah, go ahead, put a scarlet letter on them. Hey, this person is offender of this process.
Exactly.
Fine. But if your kid knocks on some guy's door and that guy happens to be a priest or a rabbi and he hands out a little pamphlet instead of candy, you turn to your kid and go, don't knock on this door again. This person's being an asshole. Or, don't use foul language. It depends on what you want your kid exposed to. My son has heard every word under the sun, mostly because of his mother, but we won't go there. The point is that he understands that regardless of what he hears, it's what he does that matters, not what other people say. And he also knows that there are people out there of differing opinions and that many people will try, regardless of what age he is at that time, will try to convince him to think like them. And that it is ultimately his choice of how the thoughts that he has in his head, of the decisions that he makes.
When you're talking about children, they're not capable of...
At the same time.
And actually, my entire point was just, it's, for me, indoctrination is a type of child abuse.
Yeah.
But just society,
Yes.
because religion has dominated the status quo since millennia, nobody will call it that.
At the same time, my son's 10 years old, and he's known for many years now that go to school, get your education, worry about religion after school is over. And so he was armed with basically a mental shield at an early age. That's all you have to do. Give them
Until
that.
they can think critically, he's not.
Yes, exactly. What?
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head right there. That is a piece it had completely slipped past me. Give me the child, and I will bring you back the man. And I'm butchering the line, but the indoctrination, if it starts off early, before you can make any kind of rational thought against it, those what the hell did he Dalan? What the hell did he call it? The micro inoculations against religious
basically micro inoculations.
Yeah, what the hell was the handbook for creating atheists?
Peter Boghossian.
Bible.
Thank you, Peter Boghossian.
Boghossian, right?
Yeah, wow.
They called it micro inoculations. If you have little patches where people are able to teach better, to have children earlier learn better, so that they are inoculated against this corrupting bullshit, you don't have to worry nearly as much, and it grows like the herd immunity of the stuff that they talk about.
The most important thing in all that is that even before all that, children have to be taught that questioning authority is okay if they have questions. Because, that's the thing. When you're a kid, you're depending on adults for your survival, basically. That's what's going on in the brain. And, everything any adult says when you're a kid is true until proven otherwise. And when you're a kid, when you're just learning about life, well, you're not going to have a chance to try every thing every adult tells you.
Yeah, so that's why they call it the impressionable young mind, is because it's still imprinting information. At that young age, it's still trying to build its own sense of individuality, and the only way it can do that is through its own experience.
And I would argue that it's, even for a kid, or for somebody pre-adolescent, it's hard for them to not obey authority. I mean, just the very thought of discrediting or just like questioning something some adult tells you, it's like it inspires fear even.
Yeah, it is a fear reaction. Like I don't know. Even when a police officer comes and talks to me, like just ask me a simple question, I actually tense up.
Yeah.
Even though I've done nothing wrong,
Here.
the guy is just, he's asking me just a simple generic question. Still, the uniform, I get the sweaty palms. It's a reaction.
What is your name? What is your favorite color?
Color. Speed velocity of an unladen swallow.
Oh, I already got that one. What do you mean? An African or a European swallow?
And is he being assisted with more boosters? Some people get that reference.
Mhm.
There's a piece about this, and by the way, Martin is also chiming in and let us know that out in Las Vegas, these things, these chick tracts are still being handed out, and has actually seen one in his door when he got home one day. So yay, nice going there, people.
Vegas.
Well, actually, it wasn't very long ago, like 3 or 4 months ago. Somebody was sticking them on Bobby's truck at work. Yep. And he didn't know what they were at first. People in the group over there educated him about it, but he had like 2 or 3 of them in a row stuck in the windshield of his truck.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Maybe we stretch this out a couple of episodes in the near future, because Bobby's had to deal with them. And like I said, Sam Mulvey, I want to get him on along with Rebecca, because Sam loves this shit. He eats this stuff up. He loves these kinds of propaganda pieces. And Rebecca's a teacher. She knows what happens with people young who are learning, that young. So, between the two of them, I'm very well expecting that this kind of thing is going to be right in their wheelhouse. But there's a piece about this that I want to I don't think the little one is going to check this out a little bit, and I'm sincerely hoping that if she doesn't have any real problem with this. Years ago, and I'm talking easy 11 years ago, easy, because it was when my wife was still alive. We had bought a plastic electronic numbers and letters device, not exactly a speak and spell, but it scared her. The voice on it was really, really god awful. But
I remember that.
It scared her. And like I said, this is going back easy a decade. I never got rid of it. I kept it like in the back of the pantry, because I wanted to find out if later, literally years later, if that would ever stop being the case. And every couple of years or so, I'd take it out and I'd ask her, what do you think of this thing? And she, okay, put it away. She's 14 now. It's been over 10 years. And I took it out again for the final time, I might add, to show her. And I asked her about it. And it still gave her the willies, something fierce. Really, really did. We put new batteries in it, and we heard what it sounded like. And she explained why she had the feelings that she did for it. Basically, when you did not spell something correctly, it made her feel like she was some kind of a failure because of the way that it sounded. And I didn't know this at the time. And when she explained it to me, it made sense. But what made me really, really upset and hurt me was knowing that I had no way of knowing that kind of pain had happened. I had something similar in my youth, not nearly on the same level, but I did not realize that this had imprinted on her so vividly over 10 years ago. And when she told me how it made her feel and how I felt that I had failed her in that respect. You want to know what we did?
Bashed
We
it.
took that sucker we took that sucker apart. We unscrewed the back, and we snipped the wires. We pulled it apart. And the circuit board that actually went to the processing system was only about 2 inches by 3 inches, with old style transistor and capacitor and we took that sucker out into the garage, and I took out my little miniature anvil, and we destroyed it once and for all. The ribbon wire was cut, the power leads were gone, the speaker, and the whole thing was just, we'll never bother anyone ever again.
That's the kind of thing that would have been fun to take a hammer to.
Well, technically, we kind of did to the brain of it, if you can even call it that.
Yes. Yeah.
But here's the point that I told you that story in order to get to this. She was, let's call it 2 years old at the time. Let's call it that. Let's call it 3 or even 4. Maybe 5 even at one point. 10 years later, she remembers. She remembers that feeling. She remembers that, like you were talking about, Dalan, that tightness that you get in the bottom of your stomach because it's just visually there and you viscerally remember it. Kids that read this and take it somewhat to heart, who don't know how to process it properly, you know what? Tech, you got a kid. If you knew that something like this had made your little one feel that kind of visceral reaction of abject fear, what lengths would you go to?
It depends.
I know that's a big one to lay on you as a dad. I'm sorry, but
You know, there are plenty of people who say, "Oh, well, the primary reaction is I kicked the crap out of so and so." Blah 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 blah. Yeah, that's all talk. That's all talk, because we have laws in this country, and we know that going to jail just to beat somebody up for scaring our child, that's not an ideal solution. What we do is we try to mitigate the damage best we can. So, for example, my ex has instilled a certain amount of fear into my son. For example, there was a time when he was not allowed to tell me about anything that went on at her home, other than everything's fine. And I slowly got him to open up and understand that, yes, you can talk to me. I won't tell your mother what we spoke about and things like that. So there are things now that he tells me that I don't repeat to his mother. Things that maybe they piss me off. They're not illegal things. They're just things that push a button. And there's really nothing I can do about it short of breaking the law. And it's like these tracts. These tracts are technically not illegal. They're not breaking the law. Now, if you run your own business and you put up a sign saying, "Do not leave these in my business or I will prosecute," that's another story.
Yeah.
So as far as not breaking the law goes, there's very little I can do, except for hope for meeting that person in a back alley and nobody's around, no video cameras and that sort of thing. But even then, do you risk it? Is it worth it? The weights and the balances. So while my emotional response is, Mangle, how dare you? That's my child, so on and so forth. My reasoning says, be the better person, be there for your kid, do what's right. And it's not right to go and, beat the shit out of somebody just because they scared your kid. Because the fact of life is that there's a lot of scary shit out there. Some even more than religion, but not much. Black holes are scary. You don't want to get too close to those things.
That's true. And Brigid, kids getting scared and being forgive the terminology for a second, but being triggered by something viscerally like that years, maybe even decades later, never mind the religious part, because, you know, we've heard all the horror stories about, you know, I've been an atheist for 30 years and I still get scared by the idea of hell. Kids can hold on to these moments through the entirety of their lifetimes. No?
Mhm. Yeah, they can. There are some things that kids will never get over. And I bet you Tiny Tribble, if you rot out that thing and hadn't destroyed it and brought it out when she's 30 or 40, it would still make her feel bad.
That will not
As
happen.
long as we don't address, if we're triggered by something, as long as we don't address it, the emotional reaction is going to remain intact. And you can imagine when you're a kid, you teach a kid something that scares them. They build the rest of their life on that. Every experience is built on the last. So the longer you leave it buried and untreated, the harder it is, one, to get at, and two, the harder it is to convince them otherwise, because they've built every later experience on those earlier experiences as if it was true.
Well, and one of the reasons why I ended up being so religious when I was is because of being scared as a little kid from hell talk. I mean, when I was really little, like under 7, I remember thinking, like, when the family would pray over meal or whatever, I remember thinking that's silly, and actually like singing a childhood song in my head so I wouldn't have to listen to their silly praying. But then I got shipped to Vacation Bible School one summer, and those were, it was a Dutch family, so I'm thinking they were probably Calvinists, and they were, you know, brimstone and hellfire, and I would have been like 7 or 8 years old. And I remember being confused and scared, because I was scared enough that I thought I better pray to this Jesus guy and get him down here so I don't burn in hell forever. But I was confused enough that I didn't want to do, like, you know how they encourage kids and young people to go and like make a big show out of accepting Jesus and pray to, and all that shit. I ran off by myself and was like, okay, nobody's looking. I'll talk to this Jesus guy and make sure I'm covered, right? But the experience scared me. Like the next time I told my mom I didn't want to go back. And she was like, well, why don't you want to go back? And I knew enough that because they taught you that worshiping idols was bad. So I told my mom that they made us sing songs about worshiping idols. So hopefully she wouldn't make me go back. And she's like, oh, I think they were just trying to tell you that you're not supposed to do that. And I was like, ah, and I had to go back. And then I ended up, you know, because of that fear, eventually, you know, a year or two later, getting more involved in church at school, and getting more involved in Sunday school at church. And they made, because I was made to go to Sunday school all the time, and just sort of how that basic fear mongering sort of convinced me to believe it later on. And, you know, I even did the Jesus prayer again because I wasn't sure I did it right the first time, because I knew I was a scared little kid. So it's really impactful. I mean, I wasn't afraid as an older child per se, but it was that fear that drove me into that direction so that I did start believing all the crap.
When you're a kid, you're scared of two things. One is scary shit that you've never seen that adults are supposed to warn you about, because like the world's new to you, and you don't know what to expect. And two, it's being excluded. And when they teach you that not obeying orders means that you're going to be excluded, well, when you're a kid, if you need a protector, and if even the thought of living without a protector, it just scares the shit out of you. I mean, you just can't oppose that because it's against your very survival. I mean, that's what's going on in the brain.
You know, that puts a really different spin on the whole idea of kids being afraid of the dark for me now. I mean, that's both of them at the same time. You got to go to bed, got to go to sleep. You got to be in the dark. Don't know what's in the dark because you don't know. There could be almost anything. I don't know.
I always had a
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's why I had night vision goggles.
I dreamed about getting a night vision monocle, or one of the single ones. That I had astronomy and technology magazines I used to get, and those things were like $1,000. I was like, oh, it's ungodly amount.
I was a skeptic when I was, when I was very young, and that caused me nothing but problems because I actually had questions, and I was very persistent.
When I was very young, I believed in a God, but I didn't believe in a 6,000-year-old Earth. I didn't believe in hell. I didn't believe in any of those shit.
See, I always wondered, like, the whole thing about going to hell, that was never really imprinted into me when I was a kid. I was more scared of my mom's wooden spoon than I was of the devil.
The wooden spoon.
Yeah.
Oh.
And once you've experienced it once, maybe it's a little bit of PTSD. Yeah. I don't know, but boy, I straightened up and flew right after that. But the one thing I always found interesting was the services I always went to in church. You go, you confess that you're a sinner, you're forgiven. If you follow that, if you're forgiven every time you go to church, then
there's nothing more immoral.
But all I'm saying, Joseph, is that back then, as a kid, my reasoning was, okay, as long as I am forgiven, I will never go to hell.
And you can do whatever the fuck you want.
Well, okay, look, I was not a Catholic, so I didn't quite go that far.
Okay.
And I stereotypify that, Shujin, because I did have friends who were in the Catholic faith, and they did their confession, forgive me, Father, for I have sinned, yada, yada, blah, blah, whatever. And they were the worst kids in society because they knew they could
their entire life on that.
Because they could do that whole thing, from Monday to Saturday, they could do whatever the hell they wanted. On Sunday, etch-a-sketch, shake, Hail Mary, clean slate, let's do it all over again.
Because they could buy their way off.
Yeah, and they knew that.
Why does the mafia love religion? That's,
Oh, yeah, because God forgives us. God forgives us for taking out those nasty... Yeah.
And Mary, everything's okay. They got so far.
You do a few Hail Marys, you pay me $10,000, everything is fine.
As an Italian, thanks. Appreciate that ever so much.
Hey, look, I was going for what's his name? Not I wasn't going for the Italian. I was going for the Godfather.
He was Italian.
Yes, he was Italian.
Yeah, I know, but like I said, I was going for the I'll make him an offer he can't refuse.
Well, all right, fine. Yes.
Get more coffee.
Anyway. We got to see about wrapping up over here. By the way, those of you that are afraid of the wooden spoon, fucking rank amateurs. The metal slotted riveted spoon. My mom used it and subsequently broke it.
No, the only one my mom had was silver, so that one never came out in second round.
I don't want to hear anything of the sort until you've tasted the business end of a wiffle ball bat, the thin yellow ones, mind you. Until the seams along the edges break, and instead of a round wiffle ball bat, you've got two plastic strips.
Hey.
I only ever... I'm not even going to go into what it was, but I only ever did it once, and I never did it again.
My mom used to do that to me once. Once.
My parents didn't raise me. They tried to break me.
Mm-hmm.
And that's basically what corporal punishment is.
Yeah.
See, my parents, they raised, like my dad with the whole hell thing. I didn't believe in like a burning hell or anything like that because my dad, I had once asked him about the reference to hell that had been mentioned somewhere. And he said, well, according to the Bible, it's a an existence without God. And that was his explanation. I was like, oh, okay. It didn't really have any kind of fearful impact or anything like that. It didn't scar me for life or anything like that. It wasn't like these chick tracts, you know. It wasn't like a chick tract in any way, shape, or form.
See, it's kind of funny because I think I may have scarred my roommate slightly because I
Put pants back on.
I made them watch. I've made them watch some movies as of late, to include the Prophecy series. And, having to pause the movie every, like 5 minutes to try to explain something to them because they don't understand it was fun. But let's face it, Christopher Walken.
What a guy. He's a good dancer. He's a good dancer, too.
This devil needs more cowbell.
No.
Oh, that needs to be the highlight of that needs to be like the subject line of today's show. We gotta fix that in post. He's like, devil needs more cowbell.
Hold up a second here, because the devil, or Lucifer, was played by Viggo Mortensen.
Yes.
And very fine performance at that.
Well, it's Vigo. He's damn good at what he does.
Yeah.
What
was his name again? Christopher Walken? Yeah. Would be the worst Spider-Man ever.
My web is on you. Just all over you.
There was something pornographic about this, but I really can't say.
To get it off.
Not helping. Anyway, by the way, a last piece that I'm going to get over here. Martin had said, and forgive me for using it because it's one of those things where, wow, was saying that family wanted me to become a priest to absolve them of their sins.
Read the rest of it. Read the rest of it.
All right. Hold on. Too bad for them. They put all their money on the atheist. Now,
Paybacks a bit.
Yeah,
I was gonna say something about return on investment in that one, but no, it escaped me.
Yeah, I wanna use that for a second because the first part of that, my family wanted me to become a priest to absolve them of their sins.
Yes, Bob.
We're talking about the chick tracts and what they can do to young, impressionable, soaking everything up like a sponge mind. And this is a perfect example of where we should really close. People want you to do something at a young age because they think that it's important for them.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. I want to live my life through you do life that you are not me, and I want a second chance kind of bullshit.
I hate the idea of quoting Dr. Phil, but he does say something along that line is, you don't have a child to give them a job.
That's a good piece to work it off of. Do you want to add anything else onto that? Because we got to roll credits pretty quick.
I just that's a super peeve of mine as parents who think they own their children and can dictate what their children are going to do and who they're going to be. And, Martin there saying, his parents basically, oh, well, this kid's going to be a priest because we need somebody to, like, how dare you? What right do you have to come out and say, oh, well, because you're my kid, you're going to do X? Yeah, and what always comes to my mind with that is Dead Poet Society.
Yes.
That movie scarred me for life, I think, on many levels. Yep. But not necessarily in a bad way.
Yep. I will go ahead and on record, I have not seen the movie, so I know virtually anything. I know nothing about it.
Dude, it's I'm pretty sure it's on like Netflix or something. You gotta see that.
Don't do Netflix. Anyway, So, Dalan, did you want to drop anything to close yourself?
Well, I was fortunate enough never to experience the chick tract growing up. It was never something that I saw in my hometown. It actually wasn't until I started getting into the atheist community, if you will, that I actually learned about them. But I stand by what I said before. Now that he's gone, and hopefully that means there'll be no new content.
Not true. Sorry.
Well, okay, but I think not just atheists, not just skeptics, but we need to get the word out to everybody that if you see these things, bend over backwards to make fun of them, to ridicule them, to marginalize them to the point that nobody will take them seriously anymore. And if you happen to get one, if your kid happens to get one, sit down with them and explain exactly what this thing is and what it's trying to say, and make sure that the kid looks at it and go, "What this thing is stupid." Like the second a kid makes that decision that this is a piece of garbage, you've won.
Yeah, and as long as you let him know that it's okay to think that if it doesn't make sense, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't matter if it's an adult saying it or a kid.
Exactly.
Yep. In fact,
So we should come up with atheist chick tracts or something the equivalent.
Yeah.
That's actually a rather interesting idea.
I got it. Bob the Baby Eater.
Just
Crazy
like
billionaire
a chick
money.
tract where you discredit, well, not discredit, you don't even mention any, like fuck the God concept and all that. You just say, well, these people want you to obey, and not obeying is bad.
Somebody's already tackled that in a way.
Really?
Look up Zen pencils.
Oh, awesome. Thanks.
Zen pencils? Is that like Zen magnets?
Well, it's an artist who has taken to developing comic strips based on quotes.
Ludwig van Beethoven, art has no limits.
Yeah. Joey, if there's a link to something, if you grab that for me so I can drop that in the notes, I'll get to you in a couple moments. Joseph, I was actually going to hit you at this point anyway. Whatever you wanted to drop as a last at this point for yourself.
Don't tase me, bro.
No, I don't do that.
Yeah.
Was there going to be anything else?
Oh, no, but normally I don't regret when somebody goes, but well, I'm just happy that our future generations are not going to be, they're going to have one less potential danger less. Did that make sense?
It did. I'm just also in the middle of trying to find something for myself in a couple of seconds. Thank you. Tech, where would you like to close out?
I'm sorry, I was actually reading Zen pencils. Where are we?
If there's anything that you wanted to close yourself out for.
There was this one time when I was little. Oh, not that kind of closure. Come on, I had to do it sometime tonight. You just knew the more time it took me to get to it, the closer to the end would be. Logic.
Appreciate that.
You're very welcome. Nope, I have nothing to close out except the government's not getting in my brain.
Thank you.
Too late.
Thank you so much. Joey, anything for you?
Just Zen pencils.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm looking at it.
I know, right? It's like the whole show just got derailed by Zen pencils. That's a powerful website at that point.
It's on topic. What are you talking about, derailed?
Which is perfect.
What were we talking about?
Sorry.
Yeah, I was just going to say that Joe gave me the web link, so I'll be able to put that into the show notes for everybody.
So did I.
But yeah, I never can remember the artist's name. I keep forgetting it. Sorry, but great work.
Cool. Brigid? Any piece that you want to finish out?
Well, my mom, when I was younger, actually foisted a couple of those things on me.
Oh, yeah.
So I just want to say, screw you, Mom. Thanks for that. I really
Somebody
appreciate
did,
it.
That's why you're there.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, I have to go. I'm having a serious emergency.
Fair enough. No problem, Joseph. Thank you.
Still on air.
Yeah.
Just remember, if you shake it more than 3 times, you're playing with yourself.
Considering I want to have a talk about sex later. Heretic Woman, did I?
You kind of started with me, but
Yeah.
I will say that in all probability, from what I've been able to discern, Jack Chick himself had not been producing tracks for some time. I would imagine if at the least several months, if not several years. And the company has pledged to continue to produce as many as humanly possible. Now, I don't know if that means new ones per se, or printing the bunch that they do have, but they have pledged to continue his work. So
That's great.
I know.
All right. So, two things just to close this out, and I'm going to make this really quickly. Item one was I may be incorrectly attributing this, but as far as I remember, I do believe that it was Mark Twain. Although this isn't exactly the quote that I was looking for. The quote. Yeah, no, it's not the quote that I was actually looking for, but such as it is. I didn't attend the funeral, but I sent a nice letter saying I approved of it. I guess is probably one of the nicest things that I could say. I was actually looking for the one about I've something about obituaries, but approved of certain ones, something to that effect. I forget exactly what the quote is, but you kind of get the idea. That wasn't the really important piece of it all, because, like I said, that's about the nicest thing that I could say in this particular situation. I'm going to have apparently a hard time trying to find the screen share ability for myself, and I can't. Oh, they've changed it. That's why. Nice, Google. Appreciate that. Code. The screen share system is now changed around. It started off with share your entire screen. No. I don't want that. I want to share the application windows. Oh, thank you.
Right, it has changed.
So even though folks on the audio side are not going to be able to see this, of course, and are going to be getting it late, and I'm not saying that because I'm ragging on Dalan, it's because it's just not going to happen in time. I'm going to show you this picture. If you are watching us live or just before Halloween, I'm hoping right around Halloween, or as some like to put it, all Hallows Eve, the Day of the Dead, and for some maybe Nightmare Night. I don't care what you call it. It could be Smain, and I know I've probably butchered it too.
Well,
Nightmare's
you've slightly confused some things, you see. All Hallows Eve, what we celebrate as Halloween, is one thing. The day following is All Hallows Day, All Saints Day.
Yes.
Which is November 1st.
Dias de los Muertos.
Dias de los Muertos is Day of the Dead, or All Souls Day, which is November 2nd.
Yes, well,
That
that's
was
what I'm
the
saying.
first.
Though they've been intermixed and kind of bled together over the years, but
Okay.
And then there's Samhain.
Yes, sewing.
So it's all kind of all together in this effectively week worth of stuff. But this picture is something that to me is actually rather gorgeous. It's a piece of art. I don't know if it was done by the people who did it or if it was inspired by, but It is commemorative of a movie that came out a couple of years ago called The Book of Life. If you would like a family-friendly, a warm love story that centers around the Day of the Dead, this is the movie that you would want. Directed by Del Toro. It's a beautiful CGI piece. The story is wonderful. It may be a little simplistic, but there are some pieces about it that are absolutely beautiful and heartwarming. And I would highly advise folks to have the opportunity to enjoy this movie. If nothing else, go look for the clips. I'll put the link to the trailer in the show notes so that people can take a look at it. It really is beautiful. And La Muerta here she's gorgeous. She's lovely. She's beautiful. And she is not someone that you want pissed off at you. And yes, she ends up pissed off at somebody. But she's a wonderful, wonderful soul. And I say that with no compunction. She shows that she understands how powerful love is. If you believe in love, there's a couple of other movies that I might suggest, especially one, but save that for another night. Enjoy this holiday season. Even though it's not the big holiday season, be safe and enjoy the hell out of it. And there's another one that happens in August in Japan, the Obon Festival, where the spirits of the family come back to spend a week or so. I forget exactly how long. But the coolest part about it is when the festival is over, you bang pots and pans and sweep the dust and you yell at the spirits. Basically, you don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. Get the hell out. Until next year. It's okay to be afraid of some stuff when it's for fun. Don't scare the shit out of these kids just because you think that it's the right thing to do. Maybe you should ask. As always, thank you very much for joining us tonight. Hope that you've enjoyed all of our perspectives and have found something worthwhile in all of what we've had to say. Thank you, of course, to the panel. Joseph had to disappear, unfortunately, but if you would like to check out some of his musings, I do have the link over to his blog available in the show notes. If he comes back, in time, he can go ahead and say goodnight for himself. Tech, as always, thank you very much. I hope that you have yourself an enjoyable time trick-or-treating with everybody.
I partook in an event Friday night, so that was basically my trick-or-treating at that point. There's nothing for me Monday night, so to speak, except handing out candy. Oh, and I get to wear the hat.
You wear that hat.
I love this hat. Even with the foil off, the hat's nice too.
That's the kind of hat a man can wear, and people will not mess with him.
That's right, because you can put a Glock in this hat.
That's not where I was going, but I'll get to you in a second, Bridge. I think you get it.
Right, Joe?
I don't think you're a nutcase.
Only with the foil still on it.
Thank you for your time this morning, Joey. You have yourself a good night and stay warm, huh?
It's actually fairly warm here.
Oh, that's right. It was 17 earlier. I forgot.
We got a bit of a heat wave going on here.
That's true. Brigid, thank you very much for your time this morning. I'm kind of wondering if you actually caught the reference that I was trying to make before then.
Probably not.
Making a Firefly reference, actually, but
Oh, I've never watched Firefly. Sorry.
it's all right. I'll forgive you this time. But you have a great weekend. Enjoy. And thank you so much, hon.
Thank you.
Heretic Woman,
Yes.
it's -9 in Yellowknife. Aren't you happy?
Yeah, it's plus 9 here right now. Yay. And of course, you'll always find me on Beyond the Trailer Park Monday nights at 9:30 p.m. Eastern.
Except for this past week.
when everything kind of fell apart. So
It's okay. We'll forget it.
yeah, I know there was equipment issues, there were child issues, there were sick co-host issues, and I just sort of threw up my hands and said, "Take the night off, bye-bye." Because nothing and no one was able to work that night.
So what do you got coming up for yourself for the next couple of whatevers?
Well, we're hoping to discuss the whole Teresa McBain thing, but from a different perspective, not so much about her, but sort of when a big name atheist turns back, what's the impact to the individual and to the community at large, and that sort of thing. And there are some other names from the past that we're going to hopefully talk about. Beth's been doing some research. So I asked her to look into Lee Strobel, who claimed to have been an atheist, and now he's this huge apologist idiot guy. So yeah, it should be
Well,
fun.
good luck with all that.
Thank
All
you.
right. And Dalan, of course, welcome back, like I was saying, and thanks for being and doing all the stuff. Man, you pulled a lot of work, you were saying.
Well, the site definitely needed to be caught up. I mean, it had been languishing for a while, but that's what happens when work, that's my job, you know. I have to travel, so that's what I do. But I'm back home now for the month of November, right up until the last week. So yeah, it's good to be back. Good to finally relax a little bit.
And you did do a lot of work on the audio side for us just recently too.
Yes, got everything caught up to, well, up until now, actually. So I just have to wait for this one to finish decoding on YouTube, and then I can get it up on the site too.
We appreciate it. Sorry, I was just looking for a piece because somebody had gone ahead and said, "What do I know about Nightmare Night? I know this." For those of you that get the reference, congratulations. And for those that don't understand the reference, you can ask about it later. But in any case, please be safe. I've been mentioning about it for a couple of weeks now, and I'm going to continue to remind everybody. If you're out driving at night especially, please be exceptionally careful at highway overpasses. This is the time of the season when some kids like to take leftover jack-o'-lanterns and toss them over into traffic to see what it looks like and to scare people.
I'd also like to add on to that. Slow down when you're going around a corner. Some kids don't take the necessary precautions of adding lights to their costume or walking with flashlights or any of that stuff, either because of financial burden or any number of reasons, even just being dumb. The point is that Monday night, go slow.
That's the truth.
Take a couple of minutes, not a life.
So please just be safe. Meantime, we'll be looking forward to seeing you, of course, next week. If you'd like to check out the audio version of the podcast for us, take a swing over to holycrapthevlogcast.com. All the social media links that you need and contact information is right over there. But as always, the voicemail line, if you'd like to use it, is 859-HCTV-554. 859-4288-554. Who knows? Maybe one of these days we'll actually get somebody call that we can punch through for you guys. I got to figure out how to do that shit. More technology I got to work with. Anyway, just be safe. We'll be looking forward to seeing you guys next time. Otherwise, I don't have very much of anything else to remind you guys about. But for the meantime, please be safe. I wish you all, as always, the peace I no longer have. I wish you the strength that I've learned. I wish you well. And of course, my lady. Matere Fujin. I love you and I miss you. You dream of me. Till the next time we get together, everyone, of course, as always, good night.